Welcome back to Class Firearms, guys. Kai over here with Jason.
What's going on, folks?
And in this video, we're going to talk about what is a bullet ammo grain weight.
And why it matters. I mean,
and we're gonna
because it does.
It does matter significantly, and we're going to talk about that in this video. Yeah. But before we get there, let's talk about what is a grain really? What is that equal to? Because there's a lot of folks out there who are from Europe or rest of the world. I think we're the only one that use like ounces and maybe England, right? About that.
They use liters.
Yeah, liters, exactly. But, you know, they use miles. I know that.
Yep.
Anyways, if you're using kilograms, grams, I get it. You're probably all confused. What is a grain? And if you're even in the United States, if you're using ounces or pounds, you're like, what is a grain? 1 gram equals to 15.4 grains.
Okay.
So a grain is tiny, tiny, very, very light. At the same time, 1 ounce equals to 437 grains.
There you go. So, but if you wanted to simplify it even more,
Yep.
a grain, it takes 7,000 grains to equal a pound. So,
Exactly, 7,000 of them. So, obviously, if you guys don't know, which I know you do, bullets are measured in grain weights. And in this case, we're going to talk about some of the most popular ammunitions out there nowadays. There's a lot more out there, but we're going to touch base some of the 5.56, 300 Blackout, and obviously 9mm, some pistol ammo.
and there's something that you did mention. Let's not get this misconstrued. When we talk about grain weight, we're talking about the projectile's weight, not the powder loaded inside. That's a common misconception. So just FYI.
People really think that, like, if we have this 51 grain 9mm ammo right here, right? People think, oh, so this weighs 51 grain? No, just the projectile in it. So these are up front are the projectiles, and in the back they're just the bullets together, right? There's casing, primer, and projectile, and some powder in it. So anyways, let's get to it. Let's talk about some of the options that we have in front of us, and then dive into basically what are the differences when it comes to grain weight and why do they matter. So we've got the 55 grain. If you guys notice that, 5.56, 55 grain. If you notice that, it's much smaller compared to the other ones.
A little guy.
Yeah, little guy right there, just tiny. Way back in the Vietnam era, this thing was pretty popular, right? Out of a 20-inch barrel, 1 in 12 twist.
1 in 12 twist, horrible, but yes,
Exactly.
zipping through.
Yep. So this thing, right about out of a 20-inch barrel, 3,200, 3,250 feet per second. So it's zipping through out of a 20-inch barrel. Then we got the, this is M193. This is the M855. It's military designations. 62 grain. It's got a steel tip in there. And this thing is right about 3,100-ish feet
About
per second.
30-20. Yep.
30-20, just right around there. And then we're moving all over to Mark 262, 77 grain. If you look at it, it's a long boy,
Yep.
right? And this thing flies right around 2750. So the heavier it gets, guys, obviously, physics 101, it's going to fly slower. So,
All right, it's cool. 77 grain, 62 grain, 55 grain. But like, why does it matter though? Because like, I want to shoot far, but maybe I'll just use 55 grain, you know?
yeah, so here's the deal, guys. We're going to go ahead and, by the time this video is over, you guys are going to have a really good idea about the whole bullet grain weight and why are they important and which one should you basically pick for your application. The lighter the bullet is, obviously it's going to go faster, right? We're talking about 3,250, right around there, feet per second. But when it's lighter, guys, it's going to fragment easier. It's probably going to have more wind resistance. So it's not going to be as stable as the heavier projectile. So if you're going to shoot long range, a lighter projectile like the M193 55 grain here is probably not going to be ideal for you.
Okay.
All right. So if you look at it, 77 grain. This is like, you know, like bunch of match ammo out there for people who do like PRS shooting or just hunting and stuff. 77 grain seems to be a very sweet spot, even in the military.
Yep.
Like they use 77 grain all the time, which is this guy right here. I'm going to try to show you guys right here compared to just a 55. I know you guys have seen it, but look at this thing. The 77 grain is going to, because it's longer, so it's going to have better ballistic coefficient. So it's heavier, it's got a better shape. The shape of the bullet affects how it flies is extremely important, so ballistic coefficient.
And it just stabilizes better.
Exactly. So what it does is, because it's heavier, it flies better, flies flatter, more wind resistance. It doesn't tumble really, and it's able to deliver more energy downrange. So of course it flies slower. Now if you want to make a heavier bullet fly faster, then it would need to be loaded hotter. But then the hotter you load it around, well, you're going to induce more basically recoil. That's about it. So if you want to go longer range, you want to have a heavier projectile. Now the military actually uses this M855 steel core. Now this thing is not all that stable. It's got that steel core or steel tip, so that really does affect the way this thing flies. Also, ballistic coefficient is not as good as the 77 grain because it's shorter. The shape is a little bit different. And due to design of this thing basically punches right through targets. A lot of my buddies in the military, you know them too, they talk about shooting targets with the M855 and it zips right through it, leaves a very small hole, keeps going. So this is great for going through some of these intermediate barriers, some of the body armor, soft body armors, and still delivering decent terminal effects, but it's not the best for that. But the military uses it because they're out there in certain environments and they really do need to go through some stuff. So there's that. So 62 grain flies decent. It's okay, and it's able to go through some of the barriers, but it's not as effective as the big one. In fact, I'm going to talk about this. The FBI uses a Colt M4's 11.5-inch barrel, and they use the Federal 62 grain soft tip 5.56 ammunition. Now their effective range was right around 90 yards for that one. The way the FBI calculates the effective range is going through intermediate barrier like the plywood or car door, stuff like that, and still having that 12 to 18 inches penetration. And with the Federal soft tip 62 grain, they had about 90 yards of effective range. They just most recently in the last couple of years switched to the 64 grain, same everything. They just changed the bullet design a little bit because the design of the bullet, the shape of the bullet is incredibly important, the way the bullet flies, right? So they upped the 2 grains, which is not much at all. What they did, they changed the shape of the bullet a little bit, loaded the round just a little bit hotter, so about maybe a couple hundred feet per second more. They have increased their effective range to right around 190 yards, which is significant out of an 11.5-inch barrel. So increasing so the grain weight does matter, but what also matters is your twist rate, which we're going to get to, the twist rate in the barrel, also the bullet's shape. Extremely, extremely important. So let's talk about the twist rates.
So obviously twist rate, right, plays a huge factor, especially in projectiles and how you really want to shoot or want it to fly. So, we've got this standard FN, standard kind of issue, whether it be Colt or FN 14.5 here. And this is has a twist rate of a 1 in 7. So for this one, if we could just break it down, the heavier the projectile, the faster you want the twist rate, right?
Yep.
So obviously you got a sweet spot. It's like a 1 in 8 twist barrel, right?
Yep.
So that's going to be really right there in the middle ground of like stabilizing some of the rounds. Obviously you've got nominal and like not so nominal. So 1 in, out of a 55 grain, you can do a 1 in 9. That's going to work, but is it best for a 62 grain? Absolutely not. You want to move up to the 1 in 8. That'll keep it right there mid-range, but for anything that's like 77 grain, definitely 1 in 7. So obviously the mid spot would be 1 in 8, but for industry standard wise, people just tend to go 1 in 7 because they say it works for pretty much all of it. So,
absolutely. Yeah. 1 in 7, 1 in 8 seems to be the sweet spot for 62 grain, 77 grain, and obviously 55 grain, you'll be fine shooting that thing, but 1 in 9 will be pretty optimal, but 1 in 8, you'll get away with it. So that's it. So it's all about spinning that bullet. But if you can't, there's a reason why you don't have like a 1 in 3, right? For a
there is 1 in 5, though.
Yeah, well, that's right. Grain weight goes higher for that one. So because you want to make sure that you have the optimal weight and optimal barrel length and the twist rate to be able to perfectly stabilize that round to have a better effect on target, whatever that may be. So that's about it.
And of course, not saying that you can't shoot any of these grain rates through like any of these twist rates, right? Because it just, what's best for, precision and optimal stuff. Yes. What's best for the precision and the accuracy just to carry through. So FYI.
Exactly. So again, lighter bullets, faster, less stable, less penetration, more prone to fragmentation. Heavier bullets, better ballistic coefficient, so flies better, better trajectory, less wind resistance, more effect on target, better penetration. That's pretty much it for as long as you get the right twist rate. Hopefully that makes sense. Moving down over here, we've got the 300 blackout over here, 220 grain, 200 grain, and 140.
145. Yep.
145. And this is supersonic, and these two are subsonic.
Yep.
This is your caliber, man.
Yeah, man, I love 300 blackout. The reason why I do so much is because it has so many variations that you can really customize it for what you're doing, as in it being mission specific, right? I want to go super quiet. I want to go super short. Well, I got a grain weight for you. That's 220 grain. So you're talking about a huge bullet in itself, of course, with the shape of it being a bow tail, and this thing just really carrying out.
And look at that thing.
I mean, this thing's huge, right? It's
Just compare it, dude.
pause.
This thing is huge.
It's huge. But comparing it
Jason
to that,
tells me that all the time, yeah.
Absolutely, but yeah, this thing is moving. It's a slow mover. It's a fat guy, but it's also moving it at a direct space. So I love how it does. Of course, nominal out of a 9-inch barrel or anything lower than that. You know, when we talk about the measurements, everything has its own, like when we say feet per second or anything like that, everything has a nominal one. For 5.56, or we measured out of a 20-inch barrel. For 300 blackout, it's normally 16, but there have been some companies that do it out of a 9-inch barrel for its nominal. You know, it's FPS, so just bear that in mind. 200 grain seems to be, for me, like a sweet spot, right? It's not as slow as per se a 220, but it has enough oomph behind it to carry. So 200 grains are great. Are they that really subsonic? Yes. Are you going to notice something? It really just depends on the construction of your can. So that's just it, right?
Interesting, yeah.
Right, but moving into supersonic, or what we know as supersonic 300 blackout, it's a 145 grain projectile. Obviously, you can see this is way shorter than the 220 grain. Obviously, a lot lighter, so this is going to carry out faster and, if not quicker, to the target. So just FYI with that.
Yeah, and here's the deal, though. Like we were talking about with the 5.56, this applies to obviously 300 blackout, even other calibers out there. The lighter the projectile, you're obviously, if it's loaded standard, it's going to fly faster, but it's going to be prone to less penetration, more fragmentation, more wind resistance, as opposed to the older counterpart right there, right? So some people say that, you know what, I'm going with subsonic rounds because I'm in a little apartment, or I live in a house with a bunch of people, I don't want over penetration, but be careful, because your super heavy round that actually could be subsonic, but you could have more penetration out of this one compared to a faster going, smaller projectile.
Now, of course, we're in the neighborhood of 300 blackout, right? But I mean, there's also rounds like 8.6 blackout, which this heavy sucker, regardless
what
of what
do you
it
need
is.
that for? Elephants?
I mean, elephants, 14 shacks coming at you, engine block, whatever,
How do you stabilize that one?
So this is going to be done out of a 1-in-3 twist. So you're really spinning this thing super fast to get to it. But this is just a regular subsonic round. What if you need something that's a devastator round? Something like that, discrete ballistics. So,
wait, what? This is 8.6 still?
Yeah, that's 8.6. That's a sub. That is 360 grains of love coming at you.
Yeah, so
under 1050 feet per second.
So 360 grains. So this is not too far off from that 437 grains, which is 1 ounce, right? This is freaking hefty, and this is coming at you subsonic, so probably 1,000 feet per second.
Under 1050.
It's insane. So here it is. This is a long and skinny
pause
round. This is going to fly pretty decent, right? It's going to have a good, and especially if it's spinning at 1-in-3 to stabilize it.
Super fast.
Yeah, that means it's just really, really fast. This thing could penetrate really well. Again, heavier round, longer, skinnier. The bullet construction, if it's obviously pointy, this is going to penetrate further into than if a 45 caliber or even like a 357 Magnum going at the same speed. And what is this is the same thing. Yeah, exactly. So there's that. So I'm going to go back to this. So some people say, hey, I want to use subsonic rounds. I want less penetration. Be careful. 220 grain. That thing's going 1,000 feet per second. It's going to penetrate. Not pause. Moving over to our pistol calibers. This, what I just said, applies to other rifle calibers as well, guys. All right? Let's move over to pistol calibers because it's a little bit different.
It's a little different. So as you move in pistol calibers, right, obviously we've got a 1-in-12.
A 1-in-16?
1/16 twist rate out of most pistols out there. And you really only got 4 to 5 inches of barrel, unless you have a Glock 17L. Then
which is 5.8 or 6-inch?
At least, minimum at least, right? So you got that as well. So we got vast grains going from here. We've got 115, which is your standard ball ammunition, standard stuff. Everybody loves it. They shoot it, Blazer. You've got 124 plus P from SIG. You got their, standard ball as well, which is 124, but it's just a little bit hotter, just a little bit.
hot. Plus B means a little bit hotter,
Yeah,
but
just a little bit more ass behind it, per se, And then we've got this one. Now, this is a 90 grain plus P plus projectile that is screaming out of this thing. So
That's
you're
fast.
fast. You're talking a minimum of 1,500 feet per second. I mean, this thing is screaming, right? And then what we have even faster is this Liberty Defense. And correct me if
that's
I'm
going
wrong.
over 2,000, right?
Over 2,000 feet per second. So this thing is literally
What is that?
50 grains of coming at you.
Wait a
hot.
minute. That
So,
thing,
yep.
guys, is lighter than this guy right here.
Yep.
This thing. So
Yep.
which is crazy for a 9mm.
Right.
Because what I carry is a 135 grain Hornady critical duty.
There you go.
You know, just a plus P or just regular 135 grain, which we're gonna get to the light versus heavy on this
Yeah.
one.
So when the question comes in, which ones do I want to shoot with, right? That really depends on, hey, how much recoil do you want to control or possibly control, and how much you want to spend.
And what do you,
Because-
and true,
Yeah.
what do you want, right?
Right, what do you want?
Speaking of price, I'm gonna real quick jump back here and
Yeah,
come back to
yeah.
it. Like 77 grain is great. Why is FBI using 64 grain or 62 grain? Because 77 has better penetration, better ballistic coefficient, and all that. Cost.
Yeah.
Going back to it.
All right, see, there you go. Doge in full effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes down to grain weights on pistols, definitely it just really comes down to what you want to train with. Of course, easy stuff is 115. It's cheap. You can, and when I say cheap, it's not meaning that the ammo's cheap. It's meaning that the cost per
Affordable,
round
yeah.
is affordable to shoot with. You start stepping up to 124 grain. It is. You can see a slight cost difference, but again, this thing it has just a little bit of oomph behind it, but you can still get that penetration and what you need to it.
And 124 is a NATO standard. guys.
Correct.
All right.
124 NATO spec standard, awesome. Now, once you start getting into these lighter rounds, we're talking about expensive rounds, right? Because there's a lot of metallurgy going in here. There's a lot of technology going in here.
I mean,
there's a lot
is
going
expensive. Does that mean better?
No,
We'll
it,
talk about
might,
it.
it
Yeah.
might not be. And you know what? That's a good thing. We might have to test like which.
We'll
ammo
test, but I got my own
is
personal
better.
opinion. Nothing against those guys.
Yeah.
They got their own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're light.
Yeah, super light.
So why on a pistol caliber, right? Would you want to really light? Like we talked about what light does, right?
Right. Sails
It is-
through.
Yeah.
Zips.
It's faster. That thing is loaded like 50 grain. That thing is going fast, 2,000 feet per second. But it is more prone to fragment.
Yep.
Okay. So it's more wind resistance and penetrates less. Believe it or not. Now here's the deal. That thing just screaming so fast. Velocity is king. It'll go through. Yes. If it hits me directly, yeah, of course it's gonna go. It's mess me up big time. God forbid. But if you shoot through an intermediate barrier, that thing is gonna have a hard time. It's gonna go through that barrier, but it's probably gonna fragment.
It's definitely
or
going to disintegrate.
yeah,
by the
disintegrate
time it
or
gets to your body.
deform like so bad where
Yeah.
it's going to have less effect on the actual intended target. So there's that. And the same thing applies to the other guy, like 90 grain. I mean, that's maybe a little bit better than the 50 grain. Again, not knocking that thing down. Some folks actually carry that because why? That thing defeats level 3A body armor,
armor.
they say. And in order to get that hydrostatic shock, which is that temporary wound cavity that we see in ballistic gel shots, right? That huge like expansion and then comes back. Because to explain, temporary wound cavity versus permanent wound cavity. Permanent, obviously, the hole that's in you. Temporary is when the bullet is going through you, there's this huge shock and your organs, your skin just kind of stretches and comes back to its original form. That's hydrostatic shock. In order to get that, you need to have a projectile going through you or target about 1,800 feet per second or higher. So that thing is going to give you that. But if it's a direct hit, and it's most likely going to fragment. Now, I go with 135 grain. Why would you go heavier on a pistol? Well, because that round is going to have a better ballistic coefficient. It's going to fly a little better. It's going to penetrate further.
Energy on target.
Energy on target. The bad thing is to make a heavier bullet go fast, you got to give it some oomph to it. That's going to induce more recoil.
Right. So I tend to stick around the sweet spot of like 124. I shoot and train with 124. I carry 124s. That's just me, Federer HST. Hey. Different strokes for different folks.
Exactly. Now this 151 grain right here.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
This
about
is a subsonic
Yep.
round. Okay, so to go over like, basically going over the pistol calibers and some of the barrel lengths in pistols because it doesn't really affect that much. It's not like a rifle,
Right,
right?
it's not like a rifle.
Yeah, so anything over 3 inch to a 4.5 inch, your 115, 124 will keep the velocity just fine.
Right.
It's gonna be just fine, right? But anything 5 inches and over, like 147 grain and above, like 151 in this case, it's going to stabilize around a little bit better because it's gonna have a little bit more barrel length.
Right.
And these are great for subsonic, like express application.
Right, and also competition shooters. I mean, they love slow rounds, right? Less recoil. You can really get on it. You don't have to notice any muzzle flip. That's good to go. So I understand that
Exactly.
as well.
So if I want to make this 151 grain, there you go. This is it. Thanks, Ryan. There you go. This will be this 9mm 151 grain in this thing through this Mojave, right? This is Mojave?
Yep, Mojave 9.
Yeah. Okay. Through this Mojave will be
Hush quiet.
so freaking good, right? There's that. Now, if I want to make this, now some people say that, you know what? Okay, heavier bullet, better effect on target, flies better, stabilize better, better wind resistance. Well, I want it to go faster too. Well, if you want this thing to go faster, and if you have enough room in this casing to put more powder in there to make it hotter, basically, well, then you're going to induce more recoil. So there's always give and take
no free
in
lunch.
everything. There's no free lunch. So that's about it, guys. When it comes to grain weight, we basically try to explain to you guys some of the important things. There's obviously, we can dive deeper into this. Let us know in the comment section if you want us to go super technical, testing, all of that stuff for you. But we wanted to explain this thing to you so you have a better idea in this video. Like, why would you, everybody has a 5.56 rifle, right? You know, 16-inch, 14.5, 11.5, whatever, or 20-inch, 10.3. Well, which one, which grain weight should I use? Now you know which one is for what, and depending on your application, 300 blackout.
Your budget.
And your budget, exactly. That 77 grain is expensive. Okay? If it wasn't, I'd use that all day long. Now 9mm, like I just touched base on this one. This applies to 40, 45, other calibers, 10 mils as well. We just wanted to go with the most common caliber out there, NATO, right? Super light, what do you want? Okay, you're gonna have that velocity, but you're gonna have some fragmentation, perhaps not defeating certain barriers. Then you can go to heavier thing and grain weight, and you're gonna maybe have more recoil a little bit, but you're gonna have better effect on target.
I want to know what's going to work if I have to shoot through my car door holding the gun sideways.
124.
100%.
Boom. That's it, guys. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you guys enjoyed this video, we'll make maybe part 2 if you guys want more technical data. Let us know.
Yeah, and what's your favorite grain weight out there for your 5.56? What's your favorite grain weight for 300 blackout? What do you carry with on a daily basis? 115, 124, 135 grain? I don't know. Maybe like some of those rip rounds, because it's apparently the last round you'll ever need.
Yeah, exactly. And in this video, we did not touch base on different different projectiles, because that's a whole different video.
You get lost in the sauce with that one.
Soft tip, full metal jacket, the polymer tip, fragment, all kinds of different stuff out there when it comes to pistols and rifles. Let us know in the comment section if you guys want us to make a video for that. That's it, guys. And check out